Good morning, church family. I hope you're doing well this morning. It's Wednesday morning, and today we have our third reading of the week. If you remember kind of where we've been going, we looked at David. God promised David that they would build a temple, and there would be a temple built, and David spent all his time and resources and his reign and his rule over Israel, building up all these different resources and things to build the temple. And then we saw that actually God told him that Solomon would build it and not him. So David's rule ends, Solomon's rule begins, and then we begin to see him keeping these promises. He told David, he said that he would have a man to rule after him, that he would have a son, that he would provide someone to carry the throne after him. And then we've seen Solomon take over. We saw he promised that his temple would be built. And here where we pick up today in 2nd Chronicles 7, verses 11 through 22. 2nd Chronicles 7, verses 11 through 22. In this passage, we see all these things have come true. That the temple has been built, the temple has been furnished, it's been dedicated. In the chapter before this, Solomon says this prayer to God, dedicating this temple to him for it to be a place for his spirit to dwell. And then the Ark of the Covenant with the Holy Spirit inside has already been taken into the temple. And so everything for the temple is set up and done and it's dedicated, it's ready. God has kept his promise up to this point. And here in verses 11 through 22, we actually see that God makes a promise to Solomon. And this promise really kind of follows a theme we've seen throughout this whole story of David and Solomon and ruling over Israel, and through the Psalms and through the Proverbs. And we've seen the contrast of holiness and righteousness versus wickedness. Well, here we have the Lord come to Solomon and he makes him a promise. He says, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. When I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or command the locust to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear them from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. He makes him this promise that if the people of Israel will turn from their wickedness and will turn from their sin, he promises them first forgiveness, a promise that we have been given to forgiveness through Christ, who for them who would come later, for us who has already come. He's promised them his forgiveness, his presence, his blessing. We may not have everything that Solomon did, but he's talking about the people of Israel here, that they will be blessed with the presence and with the forgiveness of God. But on the contrary, we see the other side of this. He said, but if you turn aside and forsake my statutes, that I will pluck you up from my land that I've given you, in this house that I've consecrated for my name. I will cast you out of my sight and will make it a proverb and a byword among my people. We see here once again that God has no tolerance for sin, that God will not tolerate it, that he will not put up with sin, but those who were sinning against him would be cast out. The wicked would be turned away and they would be cut off from the blessing and from the presence of God, and ultimately from the forgiveness of God. So I hope as you read this today, I hope we see kind of what we've been seeing, that God is making promises and God is keeping promises. I mean, he hasn't broken one to this point. So why would he break one now in 2nd Chronicles 7, 11 through 22? And I hope that you see that you are righteous and not wicked, that you have turned from your sin, and that you have the presence and the blessing of the Lord among you. Be encouraged today, church, as we walk through this coronavirus, as we're beginning to come back together. Know that if you're a child of God, you are blessed by God. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow morning.